Steve Gamache here with a Chef Knives to Go quick look product video on the Kaneshige Wa stainless Gyuto 210mm. Sorry, I have a typo on my sheet I had to fix. The core steel on this is a molybdenum vanadium stainless steel. It's probably pretty similar to some of the other steels used in a number of other brands. Heat treat rating is a 59 on this, Rockwell. And so not too hard, so it's a forgiving steel. The construction is mono steel, so the entire blade is made out of the same steel material. There are no cladding layers or anything like that. The weight on this is pretty light. It's 130 grams or 4.6 ounces, so it's a light knife. The blade length on mine was just a touch over 210 at 212 millimeters, and the overall length is about 14.3 for the entire blade. From tip to end of handle. The spine at the base on this is about 2.3 millimeters right above the heel, and then it doesn't really have much of a distal taper on this particular knife. Pretty much holds most of that all the way through until you hit the grind right at the tip, right there where the grind starts thinning out on the knife. The blade height of this has got a nice height for a 210. It's a 46.5 at the heel, so if you want a knife that's got a little more height, this might be a good candidate for you. And it's kind of one of the few lower cost Wa stainless Gyuto, so you don't have a lot of different varieties available, but this is one of the main ones. The handle type is just a basic octagonal Howood buffalo horn ferrule. It's actually a nice handle. It's quite a nice handle for the price on this knife, and the fit and finish is good on the knife overall. The heel, I should say the choil behind the heel here is a little bit rough. That would, for my preference, be sanded down a little bit. You might want to sand that a little bit. The spine's not too bad. The spine's pretty good on this, I think. But I'd probably hit the heel, or I should say the choil area, with a little sandpaper to smooth that out if it were my knife. The handle circumference on this is just a little under 3 inches at 2 7/8 inches. It's a little bit more slender than a standard 3, but it feels good on the knife. Gives you a little extra clearance also on the blade as far as knuckle clearance goes. The profile on this blade is just a gentle curve. There's not a long flat section to it. It's just kind of a pretty standard Gyuto with pretty much a typical constant curve to it. Just a nice kind of normal amount of belly to the knife. And they're not super thin at the edge. So they're kind of thin, but not really super duper thin. So these don't blow through food like, let's say, Takamura R2 or something like that, but they're good performing knives. The edge on these was not very good. I'm going to give it about a 3 out of 10. It didn't really have too much of an edge on it out the box. Something to be aware of, I'm a lefty, and I had the same issue with the Big Brother 240 on this, was the out-of-the-box edge bevel is about 90% on the right side of the blade, this side if you're cutting with it, as you're looking at the blade, and very little edge on the back side or the left side of the knife. And for me, it did exhibit some steering. I think that's because the knife itself is more of a 50-50 grind, and the edge is a little out of sync with that. But I went ahead and ground the edge on it to a 50-50 edge, where it's about the same on the left and right, and I have no steering issues at all. I will say that the steel on this is fairly wear resistant. It took quite a bit of work on the stones to cut that new edge in comparison to, let's say, a carbon steel. But very light balanced knife. The balance point is just forward of a pinch grip, or pretty darn close to that, and it's got a very nimble feel in the hand. So a fairly stiff blade as well. So just a good all-around design on the knife. You've got hand-chiseled kanji, which is unusual for a knife of this price range. There we go. It's kind of a light chisel, but it's a nice chisel nonetheless. So it's a really interesting, good blade if you're looking at a Wa stainless type of blade. So there we have the Kaneshige Wa stainless Gyuto 210mm knife.